Good morning. It is March 18th, 2020, and it's a very interesting time to be a human on this planet. I learned yesterday that my concept of how long this social distancing and being really kind of on retreat at home, yet trying to still somehow be a part of the rest of the world, that this condition may last a lot longer than I had thought. I thought a couple weeks we could do this. I have found that that I have been able to, as new information comes to me or as new understanding arises, I found that I have been able to be with things that scare me, be with things that confuse me, without going into a state of rejection, of fear, of hiding. And without the other thing that I do when I'm in hiding is I go toward some kind of attachment or addiction, or I go to a place where I can distract myself, right? And I have found, though I'm certainly leaning into various coping mechanisms, as we all are, and finding ways to find peace and calm, I am finding that I'm able to face the challenges and kind of flow with the new information that I get every day via the internet in a way that is surprising me. I know that I'm in a really unique and privileged position, privileged for many, many reasons, including just the country that I was born in and my education and all sorts of circumstances, the color of my skin. I'm also privileged. I don't know if this is exactly privileged, but I have put myself into a privileged position in terms of the fact that I've spent the last few years really shifting a lot of my work online, and creating the very kind of space that a lot of people suddenly are scrambling to find, and that a lot of my fellow teachers and healers are kind of scrambling to try to get their work up onto or manifest. And so, as you most of you know, my response to all of this comes from this unique and sort of privileged place that I have, this kind of situation that I didn't anticipate being. I didn't realize that there would come kind of this moment where all the things that I've been building, all the resources that I've been building, not just the online platform, of course, and skills, but of course, more than anything, the teachings that I've been soaking in, the practices that I've been doing, that all of this suddenly feels like I can see these things as gifts in a way that I couldn't a couple of weeks ago. And so this opportunity that I've had to respond to, and this was kind of the big theme of the beginning of this week, if you want to watch any of those videos or do the meditations, that fear actually reminds us of what we love, and fear actually reminds us of what's important. Fear can get us out of the head and back into the heart. A couple of weeks ago, I was really stressed out about things that right now seem so totally silly. And some of them had to do with these funny little things about how I'm running Nowhere Village and how I'm doing this and that. And last week, when the world suddenly became a little scarier, it dropped all of the noise and made me feel like we have to go straight for what people need. We have to go straight for it. It also helped me get out of perfectionism, because there's no time for that. I can't paint this wall back here, which I was planning on doing before I started doing yoga videos. There's just not time. And so that's okay. People need the leadership right now. And that has given me permission to just show up serve. So it's been a really interesting experience for me. I have been inviting some other voices into this space. I mean, everyone's voices are always welcome in the space, but I've specifically been trying to get people to also offer some things. And there are two contributors who contributed yesterday, Lindsay Abramitis-Smith and Sandy Griffith, both of whom are founding members. They both have had experiences due to physical illness that have made them real experts in how to live a little bit apart from everyone else, how to really live in isolation. And I really hope that you check out their offerings. Lindsay made a video and also posted a transcript. And Sandy so far has just posted a really simple little article, but it has these really beautiful, just like little sutras, right? Like so simple little pieces of advice for those who are looking for a little bit of support in how you approach this time. I've been so inspired by this role that I've been craving, which is just to help other people get their voices heard, and to be in I got to sit and take Lindsay's class yesterday, the way that you guys show up and listen to me, and it felt so good. And so I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this to really become more like what I've been talking about, this mycelial network where everyone shares and everyone's contribution ends up healing us. And I know we found that in little bits and little ways here together, but I'm excited that suddenly there's life here to force that sort of to happen and to grow. And it's forcing it because people need somewhere to show up, and I can't actually just be here all day in front of this computer. I need other people and holding space. So it's exciting for me to be in that role of kind of stepping back and looking at the network itself and seeing where the energy wants to flow, and seeing where we all need a little more support or wisdom, and to bring those voices and space holders in. So I'm gonna share a little something with you now, which came to me last night in a way that felt very clear. And this is why we meditate, is what I'm about to talk about. And this is why we gather as a community. This is why Nowhere Village exists. And the 10 points that I'm about to share with you, and kind of process that I'll describe, is the process that happens, I believe, when we dedicate ourselves to meditation sincerely, or really any practice. I think it can come through, the name of the practice doesn't matter, but if it's approached sincerely, if we're really going for the journey and we're really signed up to transform, to serve our values, to serve what's true, like we did in our meditation, I believe that this is the process that we're undergoing. And my hope is to share with you why being in Nowhere Village will help you get there. Will help you get here and now. Now, before I offer this, I've also been, this has been sort of following me around. It's a little kind of mission statement and statement of self that some of you have heard before. I know Michael likes this one. And I hadn't been reminding myself of it, but for a couple years there, I said it every single day to myself. And I think it really got in there. And I last night returned to it, and it felt really true. So I'll say this here. I am Erin. I am an earth keeper, a truth seeker. I work from and to the heart. I am a space maker, a chain breaker. I walk in beauty, filled with light. Here's how meditation works. Here's how Nowhere Village works. Here's how it works every time that we gather together in circles like this and sign up to really hold space for each other, to see one another, and to be seen fully. Awareness. Number one. Here we develop awareness, the ability to see what is. With this comes the awareness that we have blinders sometimes, that we have shadow spaces that are here, but we cannot see. So awareness gives us that possibility for discovery. And it makes everything else possible. Someone could come into Nowhere Village and just not really like any of my talks or be on board with it. They don't have to care about, like, fear actually comes from love. They don't have to subscribe to any of that. And if they were to just come and do, say, the silent meditations and just grow awareness, this whole process I'm about to describe will happen, can happen. Because if we really sit down and allow ourselves to begin to see what is in the now, that becomes our guru. That was the guru anyway. Where everything else is just kind of vehicles. And to just sit with reality and let reality become the teacher, suddenly shadow places become lit, parts of self that have been banished, we realize it, we can start to see it all. False ideas we've been carrying around, right? So it's just awareness. It doesn't have any, it doesn't subscribe to a political party. It doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't have a form. It's the perception of all that is. And then we start to see agendas, we start to see forms, we start to see the stuff. Okay. We make ourselves available for making new connections, all of that. So awareness then makes possible number two, truth. And truth, awareness teaches us that truth is different than knowledge. That truth is not actually something that's accumulated. It's not something that someone can have ownership over. That truth, it just means reality, what is here and now, and that we can directly perceive it. This is really important. If you can directly perceive truth, then you're encouraged to keep coming back to step one, or the baseline awareness. To just be aware gives you direct access to reality. Okay, so then we're in truth. When we're in truth, number three naturally arises, trust. Truth is. It's not going to abandon us. It's not going to disappoint us. It's not going to be here one moment and then gone. We can trust truth. And if we can trust the truth, that we directly experience the truth of our own awareness, then we can trust ourselves. That's the feeling that I'm having right now. The world is crazy right now. There's a ton of uncertainty. I don't know what's coming next. And yet I actually feel a deeper sense of trust than I did a couple of weeks ago, which has to do with how I am pausing, becoming aware, and dropping into what is true. And this is really important right now. We need to have spaces we can show up and trust. So much of those who have been in charge and empowered are not actually trustworthy. So many of the systems and so many of the assumptions that we've made, so many of the things that we've been subscribing to haven't had our best interests in mind, or haven't had the awareness, the truth, the values to actually provide something of substance and provide something that is going to nurture us. We have to find spaces where we can nurture ourselves. That's Nowhere Village, and that's all these spaces that we're learning how to create together as a community. We need to turn toward each other and build trust here. More about that in a moment. Number 5 is intimacy. So 5, 1, 2, 3. Number 4 is intimacy. Number 4 is intimacy. And everybody has different ways that they like to be intimate. What I mean by this is referencing actually my teacher, Master Dogen. My favorite definition of enlightenment. Enlightenment is intimacy with all things. And we don't have to be intimate with every single thing in the universe all at once. It starts with being intimate with what is right here. And we are this trust, right? When we trust the self, and we start to trust each other, and we start to trust the container, and we start to trust the practices, and we start to trust the process of unmuting yourself and coming on video and just sharing a little bit. And then a week later you go, gosh, it was actually really good to express that way. And now it's letting me move on, or whatever. Starting to trust these processes and these practices and these things we do together. It allows us to grow intimacy. And we can't have intimacy without vulnerability, and we cannot have vulnerability without trust. It's like we've got some big equipment. It looks like somebody's going to be doing some work right outside that window in a moment, so I'll try to make this fast. So intimacy requires this kind of vulnerability. And this is actually really, really important, because in order to be whole, we have to have people out there who are able to see the parts of us that we have had in the shadow. And we have to learn, this is another big thing we learn, right? We have to learn to trust other people's stuff, right? So often we build these walls. And so this free flow of resources that a mycelial network has, that nature has. Lindsay talks about this so beautifully in her talk from yesterday. Please watch it. It's called Lesson in Isolation, I think, episode 1. She talks about this so beautifully, but to be able to have this free flow of resources where, in the woods, they know this tree is hurting a little bit. Can we send them something? Everyone's, rallies what they have, and so that the whole forest can thrive. In order for us to do this, right, we don't do this in our culture very well because we're so individualized. And we have to have intimacy to be able to say, hey, I need help. It's scary. We have to be able to have intimacy in order to be able to say, hey, I've got this offering. I've got this thing that I love, but I don't think anyone's going to want it, or I don't think people are going to need it, or somebody else is going to do that better. But if it's yours and you feel called to share it, you got to share it. And there are so many, I certainly hope there's so many other groups out there like this, where someone in that group, someone in their village is sharing this. But in this village, we need your gifts. This is us coming back home to the network. And it is this state of intimacy, the way that the mycelial network is a network making everyone in the forest intimate. This allows what I'm calling essence. This allows us all to start to shed the surface, start to shed the defenses, and actually reveal ourselves in our essence. Essence also speaks to this experience that I'm having, I don't know about you, where a lot, again, like a lot of the bullshit, so many of the things that I worry about all the time, I'm like, that is not essential. We don't have time for that right now. And so intimacy allows essence, because intimacy means that we can strip our armor. Intimacy means we can sit and watch as someone else shows us something, right? That which is really valuable in life can only be offered. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be forced. And so here we are in a space of awareness, truth, trust, intimacy. People get to show up and unfurl what is real in them. This is a world that hasn't always been a safe place to unfurl ourselves. But that's really important. Surrender. This allows surrender, right? And that surrendering of the armor, right? This all goes together. Surrender, letting go. We are all being forced right now to surrender a lot of what we thought was unsurrenderable. But I have to be, I'm going to go to work, right? Nope. So many of us, no, you're not, you know? Kid's going to go to school. Nope. Paula shared an article about this that maybe I'll repost, but it's becoming really clear how much in our society everyone said, this is necessary, we all do this, you can't, don't say, you can't be separate than this, we all do this. And so much of that suddenly we don't do. It's not essential, and we can surrender it, and we're learning that. What else can we surrender? What other stories, right? This is this opportunity right now of letting go of so much of what has harmed us. I keep using and thinking the word unsubscribe. I'm unsubscribing, unsubscribing to these structures that don't hold our values. Unsubscribing from the stories that we're small, and that we need to rely on big institutions that don't actually have our best interests in mind. Surrendering all of the stories that make us feel like we can't get through this and thrive. This makes possible the experience of power, empowerment. I see all of this as an opportunity for us to discover what we really have to offer, to discover how powerful we really are, to rediscover our wisdom, our resources, and to rediscover how we can, an individual's power needs to link up with the power of the group, and how we can start to, the same way that when we sit and meditate, right, focus our energy in one place, how we can start to gather our power, and so that we can start to turn it toward that which we value. What I value is expressed at the top of this little talk in my little statement, right? The earth, foremost, this planet. If everybody else who also values this planet starts to bring our power together, so much is possible. And this is something that's kind of amazing right now. The planet is healing very quickly because we stopped running around. We stopped making stuff. Capitalism stopped, more or less, world over. And very quickly, everything is healing. I'll post some stuff about this too. Very quickly, it's really inspiring and amazing, and it really makes us think what's possible. And we do often, to discover, I know this is true in my life, to discover my power, I often have to be thrust into a challenge. I have to be thrust into a place where I don't have the power. I don't know how to do this, but I figure it out. Not in this individualistic way, but I figure it out by going, who can help me here? I'm going to get some resources, and I'm going to, this last year has been me being thrust into crisis and figuring out how to deal with it. And that's where I've discovered my gifts the most. So that's an opportunity in crisis that so many of us are having. Also, the experience of unsubscribing from a bigger, from patriarchy, from capitalism, from any system that is oppressive by nature, that is unbalanced in power structure by nature. But only by kind of starting to unsubscribe to that can I start to discover what else is possible. As we unsubscribe from the structures and the systems that are out of balance, and we return to what nature has been trying to teach us all along, what works, we start to return to balance, harmony, equilibrium, wholeness. And finally, at the end of this list, peace. Once we have that experience of wholeness and harmony, peace is restored. Peace, our natural state. This is what happens when we meditate. This is what happens when we show up and do our art, if that's how you're called to process. This is what happens when we sit in a circle of care and trust and awareness. So I would like to open it up now for anyone who wants to comment or share or ask questions. And you're welcome to ask about anything. obviously there's a lot more going on Nowhere Village right now, so you're welcome to ask about that. I'm planning on a new schedule next week. I'll still be doing this morning and afternoon thing, but going to have some more offerings going on. I'm sort of sorting people out into kind of groups of people who are interested. So I've got a group of parents and kids that we met yesterday morning, and I'm kind of putting together something for parents and kids. People who are really interested in sort of the healing and therapy and caregiving and that kind of support. And then also those of us who are really interested in more arts practices. I fit into two of those categories, even though I'm working with the parents. I'm not a parent. But what I just so you guys have a sense, my vision for this eventually is that there are these sort of circles here and kind of like micro communities that really manage themselves, that if I'm really doing a great job in Nowhere Village, I'll be able to just sort of, I could kind of back out eventually of anything, and the power of the group and the relationships you guys have and the internal leadership will eventually do its thing, right? It's the same thing in nature, right? For now, I am working really hard to play a bunch of different roles and just get everyone where they need to be. So yeah, so I guess that's all to say that, and everyone who's actually here live, if you're watching the video, thanks for watching the video. We're so glad to have you here. It happens to be a morning where the live people are all founding members. We've been practicing together a lot. So particularly the people that are here, I'll stop the video actually in a second, so that's just us. But yeah, I'm just in general eager for anyone who feels a calling or feels an inspiration to step up and help me in a little bit more of the leadership role if you feel called, and we could talk about how that works. Helping kind of be a leader within whatever community you most identify with. And the last thing I'll say on the recording, I think, is just that the fact that I have somewhere to show up and offer has saved me this last week and a half. It's also, I got a little run down. I went a little too hard there for a couple of days, but I'm catching up on rest. But in general, like the feeling of energy, the way that this has kind of galvanized my work has been really good for me. And if anyone else wants to be doing that, like if you feel like I need to offer something, like let me help you do that, because it feels good. It feels good to help in this time. And we have a platform for that. And you have me to help you get started. And then once you get started, again, trading wheels off, mama backs up, and you're on your way, right? So this is a good time for me to help support you in that.